Croatia is a land of both classic charm and modern beauty. Blue seas, golden sunlight, and coastal villages paint a picture of serenity. Beyond its natural allure, the country holds the breath of Mediterranean history and culture. Every corner tells its own story, simple yet captivating. Now let's explore the most remarkable destinations in Croatia. Plitvice Lakes National Park, Croatia's largest national park covering almost 30,000 hectares, is situated in the lower elevations of the Dinarides in the central part of the country. Within a beautiful karst landscape dominated by a mix of forests and meadows, the magnificent Plitvice Lake system stands out, fascinating scientists and visitors alike. Interconnected by many waterfalls and watercourses above and below ground, the lakes are grouped into the upper and lower lakes. The former are formed on dolomites with mild relief, not so steep shores, and enclosed by thick forests, whereas the latter, smaller and shallower, are situated in limestone canyon with partially steep shores. The lake system is the result of millennia of ongoing geological and biochemical processes, creating natural dams known as tufa barriers. These are formed by the deposition of calcium carbonate from the waters flowing through the property. In the case of the Plitvice Lake system, this geochemical process of tufa formation interacts with living organisms, most importantly, mosses, algae, and aquatic bacteria. The scale of the overall lake system and the natural barriers are an exceptional expression of the aesthetically stunning phenomenon, acknowledged since the late 19th century. Plitvice Lakes National Park area is mainly covered with very well-preserved forests, essential for the continuity of geochemical processes in water system, which include an area of 84 hectares of old-growth forest, of beech and fir. Besides the striking landscape beauty and the processes that continue to shape the lakes, the park is also home to noteworthy biodiversity. The tufa barriers themselves provide habitat for diverse and highly specialized communities of non-vascular plants. Hiking along the trails of Plitvice Lakes National Park is one of the best ways to explore the scenery and escape some of the more popular areas. There are 8 different hiking routes, the shortest being 3 hours. The longest takes up to 8 hours, so ensure to bring plenty of water and wear comfortable hiking shoes. Sorry to you swimmers out there, but there's no swimming allowed because it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but you can rent a small rowboat. An island 11 nautical miles from Kolochep, Mljet is a synonym for national park. Although only a quarter of the island is a national park, over 70% of the island is covered with dense forest. Forest-covered Mljet is the most seductive of all the Adriatic islands. Established as a national park in 1960, Mljet is still peaceful and not overrun by tourists. Visitors are almost entirely drawn to the tourist enclave around Pomina. The rest of the island retains the unspoiled air of tranquility that, according to legend, captivated Odysseus for 7 years. It is nicknamed the Green Island due to the rich forest of Alepski Bor that extends from the sea's bed to the highest point of the island's surface. The Aleppo pine was brought to Mljet from Aleppo before the time of Christ. The sap of the trees produces an aroma that is hypnotic, especially for first-time visitors. It is a perfume which scents the air across the island. Mljet's main attraction is its national park, which occupies the western part of the island. Here, visitors will find pristine, natural beauty, untouched and protected. In the center of the park lie 2 enchanting cerulean saltwater lakes, Veliko Jezero and Malo Jezero. In the middle of the large lake lies the small Isle of St. Mary, home to a 12th century Benedictine monastery. Around the lakes, a blanket of thick forest stretches across the island, interrupted only by olive groves, vineyards, and a handful of tranquil settlements. Just off the coast, numerous shipwrecks and sunken Greek amphora hint at the island's history. It is said to be Mljet, not Malta, which is the island Melita on which St. Paul was shipwrecked. Krka National Park is a vast preserve of unspoiled waterfalls, pools, and trails of remarkable natural beauty. The Krka River, the longest in Croatia, begins its journey to the sea at the foothills of the Dinara mountain range, flowing through the region of Dalmatia into what is the national park, before finding the Prokliansko Lake near the town of Šibenik, and then making its final connection to the sea at the Bay of Šibenik. Where the river runs through the park, it has carved gorges through travertine rocks, created waterfalls and karstic canyons. With its 7 waterfalls and a total drop in altitude of 242 meters, the park holds a natural and karst phenomenon. The park is a reserve with the purpose to serve science, culture, education, and recreation. Enjoy walking trails, admire the flora and fauna, cool off with a refreshing swim, and bask in the natural beauty of this splendid year-round destination. The park can easily be reached from the towns of Split, Zadar, and Šibenik, and makes for a lovely place to spend a morning walking, cycling, or even swimming in the cool, clear waters. If Krka's many waterfalls aren't quite on the average visitor's radar yet, they soon will be. They include Sredinsky Buk, beloved among Croatians for its 17 cascades of different heights, emptying into an emerald pool perfect for swimming, and the smaller, more tranquil Roški Slap waterfall. The protected area is home to plenty of wildlife, including 20 species of fish, and endangered European mammals like otters, wolves, and wildcats. The olm, a strange aquatic animal that resembles a pale, glow-in-the-dark lizard, lives in the dark, cold, subterranean waters of 4 caves within the park. The park is laced with biking and hiking trails, and educational centers throughout help give visitors a bigger picture. If ever there was a fairy tale image associated with Krka, tiny Visovac Island is it. At the center of a wide point in the Krka River, it's home to the 15th century Our Lady of Mercy Franciscan Monastery and the Church of Our Lady of Visovac. Enclosed within is an intriguing archaeological collection of everyday objects used by the church, including textiles and dishware, plus a library with age-old manuscripts. Dugi Otok is an island located close to Zadar on the mainland, and is the largest among the islands located in this part of Dalmatia. Its name literally means Long Island, for it is indeed of this description, and is known for its vineyards and orchards, Saharan Beach in the north, and Telasica Nature Park that covers the southern part of the island. Dugi Otok is a wonderful place to stay if you're looking to get off the beaten track. Despite Croatia's obvious popularity, even in the summer months, this island well and truly provides travelers with some peace and quiet, although there are still some wonderful things to see and do here. Undoubtedly, one of the island's biggest draws is the secluded Saharan beach. This beach, surrounded by pine trees, enjoys crystal clear waters practically as far as the eye can see. Dugi Otok's most famous attraction is the beautiful Plitvice Bay, which bisects the southeastern tip of the island. The bay penetrates deep into the hinterland and is formed by a series of smaller coves along the 28-kilometer coastline and 5 islands. The area, still uninhabited, has been declared a nature park and is an ideal destination for those who want to escape the crowds and find a piece of paradise. The enchantingly beautiful landscape alternates between stretches of Mediterranean scrub and limestone cliffs, with sheer cliffs over 160 meters above the coast. The island's other famous natural attraction is the salt lake of Mljet, near the bay of the same name, created by an underground channel that reaches the sea through porous limestone. The lake's waters are clean and warmer than those of the sea, but the bottom is muddy. Take some mud from the bottom and rub it on your skin. It is said to have therapeutic properties. Tired of the usual islands crowded with tourists? Do you have no interest in shops and clubs and are instead looking for unspoilt nature and beautiful sea? Stop searching and start planning your holiday on the Kornati Islands. This archipelago in Croatia has more than 100 islands and islets, 89 of which are part of a nature park established in 1980 to preserve the beauty of these places and their amazing variety of plant and animal species. The archipelago is divided into Upper and Lower Kornati. The name of the archipelago derives from the impressive cliffs above the sea that are called crowns, which are mainly found in the Lower Kornati. They have impressive heights, 60 to 80 meters above water and more than 100 meters underwater. They are islands of karstic origin, with a rocky coastline characterized by impressive cliffs, headlands and caves with thousands of ravines. This stretch of sea is a paradise for sailors, divers and snorkelers. The beaches are often only accessible by boat and never crowded. Difficult to reach with no hotel facilities except for a few private houses that are rented out to tourists, the Kornati Islands are not a destination for everyone. But those looking for peace, wilderness, beautiful sea, and a complete break from everyday life will love these rugged, little-visited islands with their sometimes lunar landscape. In addition to the clean sea, you will be delighted by fish restaurants, military fortresses, ancient tombs, and Venetian castles. You've heard the expression, short but sweet. Well, it can certainly be used to describe the little river Slunjčica. Although only 6.5 kilometers long, this river has created some of the most spectacular landscapes in Croatia. The spot where it merges with the river Korana, Rastoke, is characterized by a natural symphony of 23 waterfalls and numerous rapids, where water roars, ripples, and celebrates life. Even the name of this small village near the town of Slunj suggests that water here flows in great quantity, as it comes from the word Rastoke, which means to pour out. Many call this area Mini Plitvice, partly because Rastoke is only about 30 kilometers away from the world-famous national park, and partly because the geological makeup of the two water systems is identical, much like the vegetation and typical karst formations, such as tufa deposits or underground water flows. The enchanting landscape is complemented by the spoon-like watermills typical of the area, whose wheels giggle happily as Slunjčica tickles them. Numerous legends were created in the quiet green-blue oasis, the most well-known one relating to Rastoke fairies. These timid forest creatures have lived in the Rastoke area since ancient times and are mostly active at night, as they usually avoid people. According to folk tales, while the mills were grinding corn and wheat, and the millers were telling stories around the pale light of the oil lamp, the fairies would take their horses, which were resting for their return home. Lastovo Island is a well-kept secret. It is one of the furthest Croatian islands and a former military base that was closed to tourism and visitors for years. These two facts contributed to the preservation of Island's nature, securing the authenticity of the existing natural and cultural landscape. This is a perfect destination if your idea of vacation includes getting away from the everyday life associated with stress, rush, noise, crowds, and a constantly busy schedule. Lastovo Island shares the beauty with the surrounding Dalmatian islands, but unlike them, has not yet got in the center of mass tourism destination maps. You can still come here to get away from the crowds and enjoy the wonderful and unspoiled surrounding. Being the youngest Croatian nature park, the beauty of the island is undeniable. The lush green woods cover over 60% of the island, hiding perfect little picturesque villages where you can see Mediterranean life as it once was. Besides amazing natural sights, the island has 38 church and chapels, some preserved and others ruinous, with the interesting stories for the visitors. Lastovo Island is the place where you can get some of the best and freshest fish in Croatia, along an opportunity to try the island's delicacies made with citrus fruits like oranges and lemons. Besides wonderful unspoiled nature and a great authentic food, you can enjoy the crystal blue sea, discover the rich underwater world, explore hidden beaches and coves, and find one just for yourself. Labin is a charming town situated on the eastern coast of the Istrian Peninsula. Steeped in history, Labin's roots can be traced back to Roman times. The town features a well-preserved medieval old town with narrow cobblestone streets, colorful houses, and historic architecture. In Italian, the town is called Albona, a name that most likely had its origin in the Illyrian Celtic culture. The history of Labin goes far back to the 4th century BC, when a first settlement had been established on the town hill. When you travel to Labin, you can expect a variety of attractions worth seeing. The highlight is the beautiful Old Town, which can be easily explored on foot. Also, the surroundings with the beautiful beaches are unique. Beautiful and a real highlight is the car-free old town of Labin, which conjures up an extraordinary, beautiful, authentic ambience with its colorful old townhouses and the many pretty details. Here you feel transported back in time, and you can enjoy a grandiose atmosphere. Walking through the ancient stone alleys, almost at every corner, there is an attraction or a fantastic photo motif to take great pictures. Also fabulous are the small restaurants and the cozy cafes that invite you to linger during a sightseeing break. Visiting the old city of Dubrovnik, basking on the Croatian coast against a backdrop of the sparkling Adriatic Sea, is an enriching experience. Dubrovnik Old Town, the city's ancient pedestrianized walled center, is a neat enclave, brimming with things to see and do. Having played a starring role in many movies and TV shows, Dubrovnik will seem familiar, even if you haven't been before. One way to get Dubrovnik's compact center in perspective is to walk the ramparts that encircle one of the best medieval cities in Europe, with the chunky stone walls 1.25 miles all the way around. The solid walls, in places 18 feet wide, were built between the 11th and 13th centuries. For views from every angle, the Adriatic sparkling tantalizingly below, walk between the fortresses, hugging each corner. Mljet Tower, Ravelin Fortress, St. John's Fortress, and Bokar Bastion. You'll be rewarded with sweeping vistas of the coastline, nearby islands, and the terracotta roofs of the Old Town, one of the most beautiful places to photograph in the world. A broad pedestrian thoroughfare of polished limestone that slices through Dubrovnik Old Town, Straden begins just past the main entrance, Pile Gate. An elegant street of landmarks and ancient buildings, brimming with alfresco cafes, restaurants and shops, this buzzing spot is the heart of Dubrovnik. Located in the northeast corner of the Old Town, the 13th century Dominican monastery is one of the most visited attractions in Dubrovnik. Admire the meld of Romanesque, Baroque, Gothic, and Renaissance styles of the monastery. Dubrovnik Old Town's gorgeous Sponza Palace, also known as the Customs Palace Divona, was built in the 16th century on the vibrant Luja Square. During the annual Dubrovnik Summer Festival, both the palace and the square are used as performance venues. In the center of the square, stop by Orlando's column, unveiled in 1418 to honor Dubrovnik's heroic knight. Known for beautiful year-round weather, crisp white and robust red wines, summer nightlife, clear turquoise waters, and active outdoor excursions like kayaking, cycling, and rock climbing, Hvar has become one of the most visited islands in Dalmatia. It's surrounded by stunning scenery and is rich in culture, where one can easily escape and find the perfect relaxation they need. A Croatian island favorite off the Dalmatian coast, Hvar is more than its reputation as a party destination and celebrity haunt. It's also home to unspoiled nature of lavender fields, vineyards, and olive groves, with a coastline that's pitted with jagged inlets and pebbly coves that kiss the azure waters of the Adriatic Sea. The island's capital, Hvar Town, is one of the Adriatic's best-preserved historic towns and offers ritzy hotels, elegant restaurants, and buzzing nightlife, and makes for a great jumping-off point to discover the nearby Plitvice Islands. Moving away from the Hvar Riviera along the southern shores, it's possible to experience a more unhurried and Dalmatian way of life in the coastal settlements of Stari Grad, Vrboska, and Jelsa, and the half-abandoned stone villages of the interior. Should you be in pursuit of crystal-clear sea, enchanting perfume of the Mediterranean plants, and plenty of sunshine, Hvar is the place to seduce you with its beaches, nearby bays, and island chain, Dugi Otok, making your holiday an unforgettable experience. Choose one of the numerous Hvar restaurants and inns to be greeted by welcoming inhabitants and taste exceptional gastro, specialities, fresh fish, topped with homemade olive oil, with a choice of wine from the island vineyards. If you are into active holidays, there are tennis, baseball and handball courts, beach volleyball, a net of bicycle and jogging paths and treks, rock climbing, possibilities for sea kayaking, sailing, and scuba diving, introducing the visitors of Hvar to luscious world of its submarine population. Discover Hvar and let it grow on you. Listen to its centuries-old story, submerge in the sun, and reward yourself with unforgettable moments of joy and relaxation. The very charming Motovun in the countryside of Istria is one of the prettiest hilltop towns in the region. Perched atop a 277-meter high hill overlooking the green valley of the Mirna River, Motovun is a pretty little fortified town that still bears traces of Venetian rule. The walled Motovun is one of the most interesting inland towns to visit in Istria. It is a great place to sample local cuisine and wine, and is also famous for its annual film festival. Motovun, then part of Italy, is the birthplace of the celebrated Italian-American racing car driver Mario Andretti, who won the F1 Drivers' Championship in 1978. The old town of Motovun is a mixture of Romanesque and Gothic houses enclosed within two mighty city walls. The view is dominated by the 16th century bell tower that rises up along the inner walls. Climb up here to enjoy an extraordinary view of the town and the forests, olive groves, and meadows of the surrounding landscape. The city's most famous building is the Renaissance Church of St. Stephen, designed by the famous Italian architect Andrea Palladio. Admire the marble statues of St. Stephen and St. Lawrence by Venetian sculptor Francesco Bonazzo. After taking a look at the city's main monuments, browse through the many art galleries and local craft shops, or treat yourself to a wine tasting in a local produce shop. Gone are the days when Rovinj was a very inexpensive tourist resort. Today, a number of four-star hotels and luxury restaurants stand along its beautiful coastline, attracting a more discerning and chic tourist. Fortunately, the charm of this beautiful seaside town, one of the most beautiful ports on the Adriatic, has remained intact, and in addition to the luxury hotels, a good selection of hotels, B&Bs, and campsites can be found. Developed within the confined space of a peninsula, the old town of Rovinj is characterized by narrow, winding streets, narrow houses with characteristic chimneys, alleys, and small squares. Seven gates opened on the old city walls, three of which are still preserved today: St. Benedict's Gate, La Portica, and St. Cross Gate. On the site of one of the seven gates, Porta della Pesceria, you can today admire the elegant Balbi Arch, built in 1679 and dedicated to the then city governor Daniele Balbi. Take a look at the top of the arch. It is decorated on the inside with a Venetian head and on the outside with a Turkish head. Ulica Grisia is the street of local artists who sell portraits and paintings to tourists. Take a stroll, even if you don't intend to buy anything. This pretty cobbled street will take you from the Balbi Arch to St. Euphemia, the city's most important church. Visiting the Church of St. Euphemia is an absolute must. This is the largest Baroque building in Istria. Built according to plans by Venetian architect Giovanni Dizzi, the bell tower on the church is a copy of the one at St. Mark's Basilica in Venice. The tower has a statue of St. Euphemia on it, which is mounted so it moves according to wind direction. There are spectacular views over the rooftops of Rovinj and to the nearby islands from the top of the bell tower. Zadar is still a hidden gem in terms of Croatian tourism. Locals and regional tourists know the city's secrets, but international travelers seem to skip it in favor of other popular regions like Istria or southern Dalmatia. But Zadar is full of rich history, impressive archaeology, and some of the best natural surroundings in the entire country, including an archipelago that rivals the islands near Split and Dubrovnik. Besides sitting on the coast and offering prime sunsets, Zadar gives you access to several national parks, including the popular Plitvice Lakes National Park. But if you want to ditch the crowds, you can explore the canyons of Paklenica, the islands of Kornati, and the peaks of Sjeverni Velebit, all treasured green spaces nearby. Further, Zadar blends old and new, offering visitors quirky modern creations like the sea organ and the sun salutation monument. All in all, Zadar makes an excellent hub for exploring northern Dalmatia and getting off the beaten path in Croatia. The lively seaside city of Zadar offers an abundance of historic charm. Discover influences from various cultures, such as the remains of the 1st century Roman Forum, the Cathedral of St. Anastasia, and the 9th century Church of St. Donatus. Explore the entirety of the Old Town with its Venetian remnants, then head out to the waterfront from some modern flair. You'll find the sun salutation monument and the sea organ, which plays its continuous melody with the power of the sea. Korčula is an island favorite, in part for Korčula Town, a less crowded miniature version of Dubrovnik, but also for its wealth of outdoor activities and cultural pursuits on offer. the sixth largest Adriatic island at 29 miles long and 5 miles wide, Korčula is also one of the greenest. It's blanketed with dense woods of Aleppo pines, olive groves, and vine-striped hills. Peaceful stone villages are peppered throughout, and the coastline is edged with indented coves, quiet, harborside restaurants and resorts, and a varied collection of beaches, from sandy to pebbly to slabs of rock. The island's main drawcard, however, is Korčula town, a medieval walled city with 8 centuries' worth of Venetian influence, evident in the culture and architecture. Boasting a well-preserved old town of tidy grey stone houses and narrow streets, Korčula town is also home to a variety of local food restaurants and provides easy access to Lombarda wine country and beaches, as well as ferries to the close-by Pelješac Peninsula. Brać is the largest island in Dalmatia and the third largest in Croatia. Many visitors come to the island of Brać wanting to see the most photographed beach in Croatia, Zlatni Rat, for themselves. This tongue of pebbles jutting out into a crystal-clear sea is no match for more exotic and distant destinations. Brać can also boast of having provided the raw material for the construction of one of the world's most spotlighted buildings, the magnificent White House in Washington. Another historical building constructed from Brać's prized white stone is Diocletian's Palace in Split. Stone quarrying used to be one of the island's main industries, but today the islanders prefer to focus on tourism. Supetar is the administrative capital and also the main port of entry to the island. Ferries from mainland Croatia arrive here, and many Croatian families, as well as many international tourists, choose to stay in the capital and spend their days on the surrounding beaches. It is certainly a good base from which to explore the island, but it is worth a visit in itself. The center is really pretty, with its narrow stone streets, Austrian-style buildings, small harbor, and imposing church, and the atmosphere is relaxed, perfect for those who want a holiday without dress code anxieties. In summer, numerous cultural events are organized, often outdoors and free of charge, with classical and traditional music concerts, dance and theater performances. Forget quiet Supetar. Bol is a different matter altogether. This secluded coastal village on the southern side of the island might have remained an oasis of tranquility had word not spread about the beauty of its main beach. The Old Town is nice to visit, although it offers no special attractions, while the natural surroundings are breathtaking. This gave rise to a thriving tourist industry years ago, which is now well established. Locals like to say Zagreb is a big town disguised as a small city. Its laid-back rhythm and leafy charm is apparent from the first moment visitors set out into the Croatian capital. Wedged into the Dinaric Alps, Zagreb is a 2-hour drive from the Adriatic coast, and it's this remarkable geography that lends the city its unique character. The city's strength comes from its amalgam of European sensibilities, a place where Mediterranean vibes and Slavic continental climes combine. What lingering travelers quickly find is that this is a city that takes care of its own. Cafes spill across squares and streets because purgers like to luxuriate over multi-hour coffee-fueled conversations. Museums and galleries display world-class collections to accommodate local tastes, and the capital's stages showcase productions for discerning native theatre-goers. This isn't a city that goes out of its way to cater for tourists, and it's all the more beguiling for it. The key is for travelers to lean into the rhythms of local life. Stretching north from the Sava River to the foothills of the Dinaric Alps, Zagreb's neighborhoods offer eclectic rows of architecture from secessionist and neo-Baroque to Gothic brutalist and beyond. But it's the proliferation of parks, gardens, and leafy hills that dominate Zagreb's landscape, coming into spectacular bloom in spring, but hosts for festivals year-round. With its easy, natural charm, Zagreb isn't a city that tries hard to win visitors over, so it's almost quite likely, therefore, that it will. The arena or amphitheater of Pula is one of the most iconic postcard images from Croatia. It sits on top of a small hill next to the sea and is the 6th largest Roman amphitheater in the world, as well as the biggest and most well-preserved ancient monument in Croatia. The few historical records we have show that its construction began during the time of Emperor Augustus in the 1st century AD, and that it was expanded and completed during the reign of the Flavian dynasty. One story claims that it was built by Emperor Vespasian because he was so enthralled with his mistress, the ravishing Antonia Ceneda from Pula. However, another story has been told in Istria for centuries, one which claims that this beautiful monument was the work of supernatural beings. Able to accommodate approximately 20,000 spectators, Pula Arena would have played host to gladiatorial battles under the Romans and the tournaments of knights in medieval times. Today, the amphitheater is such a monument, it is depicted on Croatia's 10 kuna banknote. The Pula Arena is the only remaining of its kind to have all 4 side towers completely preserved. Now restored with a capacity over 7,000 people, both seated and standing, Pula Arena's shows are far more docile in nature than their ancient predecessors. Stop to catch an opera, film festival, or a concert. Previous players have included the Foo Fighters, Elton John, and Leonard Cohen. Several ice hockey games have also been played on site. Or just wander around this incredible, immense ancient site and imagine the thriving social center as it was 2,000 years ago. From centuries-old cobblestone alleys to luxurious yachts anchored in Trogir Marina, this charming little island town offers the perfect combination of ancient and modern and is a must-see in Croatia. Trogir is one of the most charming places on the Croatian coast, full of history and beautiful ancient architecture. If you look at Trogir, Croatia map, you will see it is a small island city, tucked between mainland Croatia and a bigger island called Čiovo, connected by bridges on both sides. The Old Town is a car-free zone, perfect for exploring. If you want to visit Trogir, the best time would be in the warm summer months. Wandering around the narrow streets and discovering interesting boutiques is definitely the highlight of experiencing Trogir, even if you do nothing else. Some parts of the Old Town have remained unchanged, so it really feels like traveling back in time. One interesting thing Trogir is famous for is opening of the first pharmacy in Europe in 1271. Trogir, or Tragurion in Greek, was founded in the 3rd century BC by Greek colonists. Its remarkable orthogonal street plan is jutted with beautifully preserved buildings, from numerous Romanesque churches to Venetian Renaissance and Baroque structures. The construction of the Cathedral of St. Lawrence on the main square started in the 13th century and wasn't completed until several centuries later, reflecting a mixed architectural style. The city's defensive walls were also built in the 13th century, but were later demolished to allow for expansion. Parts of the walls and two entrances remain preserved, as well as the Camerlengo fortress. Šibenik, the oldest coastal town in Croatia, where rich history and vibrant culture meet stunning natural beauty. Nestled along the breathtaking Adriatic coast, this town has been a hub of activity since the 16th century, when it proudly stood as the largest Dalmatian city. As you stroll through the picturesque medieval streets, you'll be captivated by the well-preserved churches and charming cobbled pathways, all surrounded by four majestic fortresses. Did you know Šibenik is one of only 5 cities worldwide with 2 UNESCO monuments? The Cathedral of St. Jacob, an architectural marvel entirely made of stone, is a sight you cannot miss. One fascinating fact about Šibenik is that it was the first city in the world to introduce public lighting. In 1895, it implemented Nikola Tesla's alternating current system, powered by the hydroelectric plant at Krka, Georgia, just 2 days after the one at Niagara Falls. This innovation highlights Šibenik's forward-thinking spirit. The city is also a birthplace of talent, known for its famous residents. From Faust Vrancic, the inventor of the parachute, to basketball legend Dražen Petrovic, actor Goran Višnjić, and piano virtuoso Maksim Mrvica, Šibenik has an impressive legacy. But the allure of Šibenik doesn't stop there. It's a stone's throw away from 2 national parks, Kornati and Krka. For adventure enthusiasts, Šibenik is paradise. The Šibenik archipelago consists of 249 enchanting islands, only 6 inhabited. You'll find an incredible 26 nautical mile route connecting Kornati and Krka national parks, perfect for our sailing, swimming, and kayaking adventures. The destiny of the Pelješac Peninsula has always been linked to its position. Sprawling out towards the sun of the Adriatic and the central Dalmatian islands, some 30 miles northwest of Dubrovnik, it was for its Illyrian, Roman and Slavic masters a link between the Balkan hinterland and Korčula and Hvar. Later on, at the time of the Napoleonic Wars, it was important for the French troops for the same reason. Apart from bequeathing it the still existing Napoleon Road, which runs along sheltered areas from the Isthmus to Orebić, they left it the secret of producing Pelješac champagne, an excellent sparkling wine bottled in old siphons. Before that, the people of Dubrovnik had endowed it with stone-girt cities and skill in farming shellfish, the people of Zahumlje with ancient little chapels, and the Greeks and Romans with the viticulture, the production of wine and sea salt, urbanity, and a cultivated estate lifestyle. And yet, in spite of the rich history and pristine beauty, Pelješac is one of the least known facets of the Croatian coastline. On Pelješac, the most far-off places are oases of guerrilla hospitality, well known only to sailors. The sea between the island of Hvar and the peninsula has not been fished out, and every year around Lovište, a special kind of mullet comes to spawn. Their dried roe, called butarga, costs more than prosciutto, lamb, quica, lobster, and the finest white fish. In short, all the good things of the area, and cannot be found on the market. If you have the luck to get some local people to reveal where you can try it, you'll find yourselves at a table on the terrace of one of the little fishermen's houses by the sea, in the solitude of some hidden cove where the rules of commercial gastronomy do not apply. In such places, in the cool of the pergola, a summer lunch can last until twilight and stay in the memory forever. One of the most beautiful parts of central Dalmatia is the Makarska Riviera, an enchanting stretch of coastline over 50 kilometers long that stretches at the foot of dramatic mountain ranges. The pearl of the Riviera is Makarska, a port town that sits on a wide bay, bordered by Cape Osijava and the Sveti Petar Peninsula. Behind it rises the imposing Biokovo mountain, which descends to the sea in ridges and cliffs that form a striking backdrop to the magnificent pebble beaches of the Riviera. It is certainly the natural beauty that attracts tourists here, rather than the museums or historical monuments. Makarska is a favorite destination for those who enjoy active holidays, due to the numerous footpaths that climb inland or wind their way along the coast, and the numerous opportunities for outdoor sports. Makarska is a true paradise for those who like to spend their holidays walking in the midst of nature. Mount Biokovo offers numerous hiking opportunities of varying length and difficulty that will take you through pine forests, pastures, gardens, and villages. Makarska's magnificent natural landscape is also an ideal setting for other sporting activities such as climbing, paragliding, mountain biking, windsurfing, and diving. But the activity that keeps tourists most occupied are relaxing swims in the transparent waters of the Riviera. The town beach in Makarska is a beautiful pebble beach in the shade of pine trees. Equipped with all facilities, it is suitable for both families, with children and young people looking for fun. In the summer, it is rather crowded, but as it is very large, you will still be able to find a comfortable space all to yourself. Behind the beach is a pleasant promenade with palm trees, perfect for catching a cool breeze after hours in the sun. Hum is a charming little place in the heart of Istria, Croatia. Green hills and vineyards surround the town, which produces high-quality wines. A liqueur known as biska is also a famous thing in Hum. In October, Hum hosts a brandy exhibit, a competition for the best brandy in Istria. If we speak in terms of elevation, the town sits at 349 meters. Hum town technically belongs to Buzet. With its ancient walls, cobblestone streets, and just a handful of residents, it has captivated travelers and historians alike. Despite its small size, Hum is packed with cultural and historical significance. Walking through the town, you'll feel like you've stepped back in time, with its medieval architecture, stone houses, and a tranquil atmosphere that offers a unique escape from modern life. The town boasts beautiful frescoes in its Baroque church and ancient stone carvings, surrounded by landscapes that will leave you in awe. Whether you're an architecture enthusiast, a history buff, or simply looking for a peaceful retreat, Hum offers something special. Visitors are enchanted by its warm ambiance, local customs, and the warm hospitality of its residents. A legend says that Hum was created accidentally when the giants ran out of stones in the valley of the Mirna River, so they decided to build this miniature town out of the rocks left over. Winner of numerous international awards, Poreč is a true star of Croatian tourism. This town, with a 1,000-year history, has in fact developed an extraordinarily successful tourism industry that has won the sympathy of holidaymakers not only from Italy and Germany, but from all over Europe. Known for its rich history, well-preserved Roman architecture, and vibrant atmosphere, Poreč has become a popular destination for tourists seeking a mix of cultural exploration and seaside relaxation. Walking around the town of Poreč, you will find numerous reminders of its rich history and the peoples who have dominated it over the centuries. Evidence of Roman times can be found in Marifor Square, where the Forum once stood. The original paving can still be seen today, and to the west of the square, the remains of the 2nd century Temple of Neptune and another temple from the 1st century. Venetian rule has left its traces with 3 15th century towers, while 2 interesting Gothic houses remain from the Middle Ages to the southeast of Marifor Square. The elegant palace that houses the Istrian Diet, i.e. the regional parliament, can be visited every day. It stands near the Juraj Dobrila Park on a 13th century Franciscan Gothic church that was modified in the 18th century and richly decorated in Baroque style. Take a look at the sumptuous stuccoed ceiling, decorated with illusionistic frescoes and gilded medallions. Surrounded by green rolling hills and a lake, it looks just as in a fairy tale. Today, it is a museum where you can glimpse where the aristocrats lived and feel the past. Trakošćan offers a natural experience as well, on a beautiful trail around the lake. It used to be a small lookout fort and part of the defense system for northwestern Croatia. Trakošćan often changed owners until Count Drašković turned it into one of the most beautiful castles in the 19th century. The castle is a cultural and historic monument of great importance, and one of the rare structures in Croatia with its own material neatly preserved. For over half a century, it has contained a museum with a valuable collection of paintings, furniture, weapons, and priceless objects from the Renaissance until historicism. They are exhibited in the original interior space of the castle, and they represent the life of the nobility and the Drašković family in Trakošćan. You can even play the early 19th century piano in the music salon. The park forest grounds of Trakošćan Castle offers stunning scenery that is rich in a diverse range of flora and fauna. These grounds are a lush setting for the castle and create a truly picturesque view. The overall appearance of the castle, combined with its stunning grounds, are what makes this Croatia's most beautiful castle. Built 3,000 years ago, Nin is one of the oldest towns on the eastern Adriatic. But it holds another important title, that of the oldest royal town in Croatia. The Croats, who colonized it in the 7th century, decided Nin's walls were worthy of the king's throne, and some of the country's most famous kings, like King Tomislav and King Zvonimir, ruled from there. Later on, it became a center of a medieval Christian bishopric, which means it was the center of the autonomous Croatian branch of the church. Bishops from Nin played a big role in the country's religious, cultural, and political growth, with the most important bishop being Gregory of Nin. Because of him, religious services started being held in Croatian language instead of Latin, so they were finally understandable to everyone. So what should you see and do in Nin to make the most out of your day? Begin with visiting the Church of the Holy Cross, the smallest cathedral in the world, built in the 9th century. Or go see the remains of old Roman homes and imagine how their family life looked like. If you're more interested in pleasing your taste buds, you should visit Šokolijada. This festival, held in July, is dedicated to Šokol, quality pork, which is kept in Nin's sea salt for a few days, then submerged in red wine, seasoned with spices, and dried in bura, a strong northeasterly wind. Mali Lošinj is the largest settlement on the island of Lošinj and a popular tourist destination during the summer season. The town lies in the large Augusta Bay along the south coast of the island and is surrounded on one side by hills with lush pine forests and on the other by a turquoise sea. According to legend, the island's harbor was created in Roman times in 32 BC, when Octavian's fleet stopped here to wait out the winter before resuming sailing. Mali Lošinj boasts a large number of beaches where you can relax in the sun, plus there is one of the few sandy beaches in the area. Less than 1 kilometer from the center of Mali Lošinj is the famous Čikat Bay, which is surrounded by lush vegetation and has 3 beaches, one of which is sandy. Considered by some to be the most beautiful bay on the Adriatic, Čikat is a beach with all the amenities and is therefore very popular with families with children. A walk through the old town center of Mali Lošinj is a bit like taking a real trip back in time. The oldest part, in fact, contains stone houses, old residences, concealing lush gardens, small squares, and stairways. A stop not to be missed is definitely a visit to the cathedral, which boasts a Baroque facade, and inside are 3-nave layout housing works of great value, and the relics of Saint Romuald, the city's patron saint. In the main square, you can admire the War of Liberation Memorial, and from there, it is easy to reach the church of San Nicola. Croatia leaves travelers with the lingering taste of sea breeze, sunlight, and unforgettable memories. Every moment here seems to pause in time, simple yet profound. And even after leaving, one can still feel the Adriatic calling, inviting them to return and continue the story left untold.